The small fishing village of Ballywalter on Northern Ireland's Ards Peninsula is where one of Britain's best-known chefs grew up. Paul Rankin is famous for TV's Ready Steady Cook and also runs a highly successful chain of cafes. His Belfast restaurant, Roscoff's, was the first in the province to be awarded a coveted Michelin star, but he still loves getting back to basics in his mum's kitchen. Iris has a no-nonsense approach to food, but did that make Paul into the chef he is today?
Mum is a wonderful cook and would always purchase the best and finest ingredients, but the food was quite plain and simple, really.
I'm quite amazed at Paul because he never had shown any real interest in cooking. He was good at eating what I cooked, but he never showed any interest in cooking it.
Paul Rankin was born in Glasgow in 1960. Iris and Hugh moved the family back to Ballywalter to take over the village hardware store. Paul and his brothers Maurice and Colin used the streets and harbour as a magical playground. Mum has her own memories of the young Rankins' childhood.
I always liked the boys to look clean and nice, but then little boys, as you know, going out to play, it's very difficult to keep them clean. But Paul, he would have come in exceptionally dirty. The other two would have been normal, but Paul would have always been much rougher and much, you know, he just loved life and loved to be a real boy.
When I was a wee fella, I was a real tearaway. Liked lots of rough and tumble, like lots of sport and things like that. Up for anything. You know, swimming, jumping off things, lighting fires, making swords, everything.
I used to love swimming down there when Auntie Ella used to come down and watch us, so we could jump off the rocks and show off and all that sort of stuff.
Unfortunately, I had to stay in the shop, and you boys had to more or less go down with.
I bet that was good, because you would have been saying, "Oh, don't do that, you'll hurt yourself." And Grandma Rankin used to come down.
Yes, Grandma loved to come from Scotland and watch you boys doing those things.
And mind all the times I was down there catching crabs?
Yeah. Well, I can remember once Colin bringing crab in a bucket, and Morris went out and he lifted a crab and it bit him, you know. And he screamed.
And no wonder, it's sore when a crab bites you.
And I had a tea towel in my hand and I'm going to go, swiping the crab off with the tea towel.
I know.
And he was screaming his head off. Oh dear.
Remember I used to chop the logs up?
Yeah.
And into like sticks for the
fire? Sticks, yes, and tie them up, yeah.
And what age would I have been when I did that?
Not any more than 5 or 6, I would say.
5 or 6, that was really a business.
Yes, you were.
One of the things I talk about to people, especially now, you know, when I'm doing food things, and they're amazed, is we lived there.
Yeah, and the school.
And the school's up here.
You could have fallen out of bed.
And so, you know, I tell people that for lunch I used to come home and Mum would have a great big bowl of steaming champ waiting for me. So I'd walk down here.
That's right.
Just come home and champ in a big glass of milk,
and you'd be back.
And then I'd go back up to school.
Yes, in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That definitely is our right here.
But right here.
Right to there.
This is us.
I would say right across there.
This is us driving in my backyard.
That's right. And you must have fallen about here from that wall.
And we had that whitewashed, that wall.
Yeah, that's right. And we had roses going along there. And we had roses going up here.
I can't believe they knocked our house down. I don't think that you and Dad understood the passion that made me want to get into the kitchen and cook.
Because you certainly need a lot of passion to do things really well, although you were always taught to do things really well, my Paul.
Yeah. You love salmon, don't you?
I love salmon. Unfortunately, when you were growing up, Paul, when we were in Ballywalter, we used to eat a lot of fish, but it was mostly lemon sole.
Yeah. I love that. I remember all the lemon sole days.
Yeah, we'd love lemon sole days.
I remember all that.
When he started with the Roux Brothers, I hadn't a clue who they were. All I did hear was that he was working extremely hard. It's very, very hard work. And in fact, when he had come home, you'd see by his hands that, you know, it was pretty rough.
I had so many little nicks and cuts on my fingers, and they used to call me Slasher. Because I had, when I was on the salad section, you're always cutting like this into this hand, and every single finger on this hand had a plaster on it, you know. But I soon learned. So what did you really think of my style of cooking?
Well, I thought it was a picture on a plate, but it was very good food, beautifully cooked and beautifully presented.